Assalamualaikum and good morning. I bid to everyone watching. I hope you're healthy and I hope you have eaten before you have watched this video. Okay, so an important thing that I want to remind everyone is that you can rewind, pause, and fast forward this video. You can also slow it down by slow down the speed if you cannot catch up. So if you need to do any of that, do it. It is all in your control. All right. So now let's continue the lesson. So we will be continuing yesterday's lesson, which is about health. Okay, so we were talking about health yesterday. We were talking about how to live a healthier lifestyle. And we went through a whole to-do list on how to live healthy. And then at the end, we had an activity where we helped a lady on how to become healthier. We advised her. So today's lesson will also talk about that. Okay, so we will be learning on how to give advice. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to give advice, right? So remember, that is our aim for today. So this is the question I asked you yesterday. Do you think you are living healthily? So remember this question. You can answer it now. You can use yesterday's answer. But yes, this is the question that we will use as an example later. All right, so we are learning on how to give advice. So the most important thing when you are giving advice is to be polite. Okay? These are some things that you have to remember when advising. You have to be polite, and you have to use gentle language, and you have to mind your tone. And you should only advise when you are asked. These things are very important when you are advising someone, because if you don't do this, and if you do the opposite of all these uh, points, then your advice will become rude. Let me repeat. If you don't do these things when you are giving advice, your advice will come off as rude. Okay, so when I say be polite, I mean you have to use gentle language and you have to mind your tone. So let's go back to the previous slide, which is, do you think you are living healthily? So you have to use gentle language. Here I use gentle language in which I did not bring up the other person or your health. Like I did not say, I think you are living unhealthily. When you say that, it comes off as rude. So this is very important to remember. You should use gentler language when you are speaking or you are advising. Okay, so here I use a roundabout way of asking about your health. So I did not say, I think you are living very unhealthily. Instead, I make you think on your own. Do you think you are living healthily? So this way, you can think about it yourself and you can give your own answer. And I don't assume that you are unhealthy. It's very, very rude to assume that the other person is unhealthy. So this is something that you have to remember. So you have to use gentler language, and then you also have to mind your tone. All right. So here is an example. I think that you're fat and you're unhealthy and you should eat less. Okay. What I said there, firstly, I use very harsh language, which we should not use with anyone. Remember? And then my tone was also quite mean. When you're advising people, you have to remember that you want them to change for the better. You are not here to criticize them, you are here to help them. So you should always use a nice tone and a helpful tone. Okay, so how do we advise people with gentle language and a nicer tone? Okay, so here's an example of that. I think you should eat well and sleep early if you want to become healthy. So your tone should not be going up. It should be level. So the other person will be able to listen and accept your advice. If you say something offensive, the other person will not listen to you and your advice. Would you listen to someone who is very rude to you, who is offending you? Obviously not. So other people are the same. So if you want people to listen to you, you have to be polite first and foremost. Okay? So another thing you have to remember is to only advise when you are asked. Don't suddenly come up to people and say and give them advice when they are not asking. If you see someone who you think if you see someone who you think looks unhealthy on the street and you go up to them and say, I think or I think you should eat less and a more balanced meal. That is very rude. Obviously, you have to be in a conversation and the other person needs to be the one asking for advice. Only then it will be okay to give them advice. Do not give advice suddenly because that some people think that that is offensive and we are trying to avoid being in offensive situations. Okay, so these are some things that you have to remember. And then now, if you flip to page 57 of your textbook, you will see activity 5. So here are some ways that you can use to give advice. So in affirmative and negative imperative forms. So imperative forms of the verbs are uh, they are they are words that you can use to ask or to tell people what to do. All right. So imperative verbs you can use them in affirmative and negative forms. So let's do this one first. Let's do this activity. So based on the pictures, we have to complete the sentences. Okay. So for number 1, it says, eat this before August 2018. Second one is visit this place. Visitors are welcome. And the third picture says not drinking water. So it says don't drink this water. The fourth is one way, so you have to go right here. Third information is ask questions here, and when you see this sign, it says don't play football here. So these are all orders these are all orders that you can tell other people. Eat this before August 2018. Visit this place. Don't drink this water. Go right here. Ask questions here. Don't play football here. These are all orders, or you can say advice. These are all things that you can use as advice also. But if you notice that these sentences are very short and very curt, so they don't sound as warm. So when you use this, these are just the very basic advice. So if someone is asking you, what should I do in order to become healthy? And you reply to them, eat healthy foods, and balanced meals. That is your advice, but it's very, very short and it doesn't sound warm. So you can use these basic advice and make it longer. You can add, you should eat healthy foods and balanced meals. Or you can eat healthy foods and balanced meals. And then you can also say, don't go to sleep late. Okay. You can also make it sound softer by saying, I think you should go to sleep early. You can make it affirmative instead of negative. Okay, So that's one of the ways you can soften your sentences and give warmer advice. That way, the other person will be more likely to accept your advice. Or when you say, this number 3 says, don't drink this water, because it's not drinking water. So you have to warn other people, but you can make it softer by saying, please don't drink this water. And you can even add at that, because this is not drinking water. Alright, so that's one of the ways that you can give advice and make it sound softer and more warm for the other person to hear. This is all that this is basically how you give advice. So if you have any questions, you can just WhatsApp me right away. But if you don't, then let's go into the next task. Alright, so task A is your textbook, 57, page 57, activity 6. So here, you have to write advice for situations 2 until 6 using affirmative or negative imperatives. Alright, so what's the best advice for a friend who wants to be healthy? So this, I'll give you an example of the answer. Okay, write advice for situations. What's the best advice for a friend who wants to be healthy? So my answer is, I think you should eat healthy food and balanced meals. You should also go to bed early and sleep for 8 hours. So you can use affirmative or negative imperatives. It's fine. Like in this example, it says don't go to bed late. But for me, I use you should go to bed early. It doesn't matter which form you use, but remember the things that you should remember when giving advice. Alright, so I want you to write it in full sentences instead of these short sentences, short phrases. I want you to write in full sentences like the example that I gave you. And then write it in your exercise book and take a screenshot of your answer and submit to me on WhatsApp. Okay, so you can pause here and do your work, and then after you are finished, you can come back. Okay, so if you're done, let's see the next task, which is task B. So task B is to select one situation from the previous question and record a short video of you advising your friend. So you can pick any of the situations here, and you already wrote your advice, so you have to just repeat it on your video. Alright, so here is my example. If you want to watch it, I have also included this in the Google Drive I have given you all. So if you need an example, then you can just watch this. Alright, so this one also you have to send to me on WhatsApp, and after you're done, we have task C. Task C is, as usual, you have to complete one page from your drive-through module, which is page 13 July 2021. So I hope that you are all familiar with giving advice now. And if you have any questions, please WhatsApp me. Please WhatsApp me your questions. Please drop your questions to me, and I will get back to you. Alright, so if there are no more problems, I will meet you tomorrow. Alright, so thank you everyone for listening to this lesson. I will take my leave now. I hope that you are all well and you have made through this lesson with no problems. Alright, okay, thank you everyone.